Get, you see people in real life, and you're like, was I like that years ago? Good afternoon. Welcome to another week of We the People. Geez, it does work, Trish. It fits. So,
Oh, wonderful.
we've got a full house here today. We'll get into that in a couple minutes after Hyacinth does her community announcements.
Hello, everyone. It's Monday. I hope you're all doing well out there today, and I hope you're watching us.
St. Patrick's Day week.
Yeah. Oh, it was a nice parade. It wasn't
The
as
high
crowded
holidays.
It wasn't as crowded as the year before.
Especially with the weather. I thought it would have been enormous crowds. But
Yeah, but it was a good turnout.
Yeah, okay.
And so we really, I really enjoy myself, and that's the only parade I actually go anyway. So
Well, you're
I just-
Irish, I think, right?
Yes, I am Irish. Yeah. So again, it's Monday, and I want to do some announcement from the South End Wellness Senior Center. A couple of things are happening this week. Okay, so Tuesday from 10 to 12, memory tests. The Hartford Hospital is coming down, and they're going to give you like an iPad, and you can do stuff in there, and they'll test your memory and stuff like that. So that's really good. And Wednesday we have the market, the mobile market is coming in. And also blood pressure with the Hispanic Health Council. They're coming over to do blood pressures, things like that. And Santos, yeah. Information is about service health benefit. Again, I talked about it the last time we were here about trying to get people into place to get some health service at great feeling like you're actually being heard. Because most of the time when you go to doctors these days, nobody listens to you anymore. They're just rushing you out like a herd, stuff like that.
Well, there was something online yesterday. There was a man that was terminally ill in a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And he found out about it through a robot.
Yeah.
The robot came in his room, the doctor was on the other end of the screen, and told him he was dying.
Wow.
Had so many months to live from a robot.
Well, how dare that robot tell me how long I have to live? You know what I'm saying? That's not right. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be on Thursday the 14th, and everything is pretty much 11 o'clock or so at the Wellness Center. Okay, what you have here? 15 is a special. Oh, that's our St. Patrick dinner that they're having. Again, I also want to mention that about our trip, and I really want to emphasize this because we're trying to get people to go to this trip to Canada. And it's going to be in September, but we need to start getting people sign up so we can have a good bus load of people that is willing to go.
And let's face it, third or fourth year you've done that?
We've been doing it for a little bit now, yeah. It's really good. 5 days, 4 nights for only $530, and your hotels and your dinner and breakfast is included. What else could you ask for that? And you're going to see some world most famous fall. Okay, magnificent Toronto. You can go on that, tall, what they call it, the sightseeing place that you look. Lots of places, casino, whatever, beautiful garden, stuff like that. I think it's just nice to get away sometimes, though. Okay, don't forget now we have Mondays, 10 to 11. It's exercise with Jeffrey. It's aerobics, and it's really good. Wednesday, and then Thursday, 10 to 11. Friday, 10 to 11. It's aerobics and we also have Tai Chi. Today we had Tai Chi at 11. You can also go to that too. Kevin, I think you'd be good at doing that because it helps your muscle movement. No, it's not a thing you have to be rig around. Like, just nice and movement is good for your health and medical. And also, I also want to remind people about this coming Thursday is the March meeting at 6 p.m. It's NRZ time again.
Didn't we just have one?
I know. The reason why it seems so close to each other is
Valentine's
because of Valentine's Day, and I had pushed it back a week. And so we have the new Public Works Director coming, and we also have the new development person too. So that would be interesting to hear what they have to say. Public Works got a lot of work in them. Did you say you find that information about
I did
Obama?
not. I'm sorry.
You can't find it?
No.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk
Yeah,
about it
Obama
next
doing
week.
young people development leadership, and it's gonna happen age group from 18 to 25. I think he's trying to do a leadership training to get more young people involved and how to become leaders and even political leaders too.
I think he was doing it in 2 cities, and Hartford was one of the
Harvard
cities.
was
they
one
chose.
of them, and I think you can go to the library, perhaps, or you could call the city, and then they probably can give you some of that information to do that. So again, lunch every day at Southern Wellness Senior Center, sewing. We're gonna start doing jewelry now and stuff like that. Ceramic and computer class is really important. Computer class on Tuesdays from 3 to 4:30. At the Southern Wellness Senior Center. So we do have a lot of stuff to offer. So please get involved and don't be sitting home twinkling your fingers and be alone. Just get involved, All right.
And before we go into the actual show, just want to ask
Oh.
people at home to keep in your thoughts and prayers our former police chief, Jim Rovella,
Yeah.
who's
his
now the
father
Commissioner of
passed.
Public Safety. His father died last Thursday morning.
Yeah.
The wake is tonight, the funeral's tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he lived
Our hearts and
90,
prayers.
91 or 92 years
Yeah,
old.
he lived
so-
a good life.
And he-
Yeah, live a good life,
And as when Chief Ravella called me last Friday morning to tell me he had passed, I said, well, one thing you got to be sure of is you made your father proud over the years.
Yes.
And he says, yeah, he used to tell me that all the time.
Yeah.
So,
And to see his son become commissioner, he was still alive and aware of when that happened. So I think it's overall good, None of us live forever, so that's
So we might just have the next Commissioner of State Police sitting with us today. Who
Oh
knows?
yeah, who's that?
Could be any one of them.
Okay, all right. So we have ladies here today, and it's
It
really
wouldn't be the
important.
first because we just finished up with a Commissioner of Public Safety who was a woman from New York City.
That's right.
And she was a Hartford resident. She actually lived downtown on Trumbull Street.
Oh, that's
But
wonderful.
what we want to talk about today is
So why don't we go around and say
Yeah,
who these?
Lieutenant Marisol Rodriguez Velez is in charge of recruiting the PAL program, the cadets, the explorers. Officer Tiffany Wilson is a relatively new member of the department. And Cadet Rivera, who will hopefully be wearing that uniform one of these days.
Hopefully soon.
So, and eventually wearing that uniform, maybe even a couple stars on your collar, who
That's right.
knows? But we just want to talk about opportunities in the police department for women, what got you into police work, and just your thoughts about the police department.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for the invite. Thank you for
You're
having
welcome.
us here. And I look forward to more invitations as we move forward. So we currently are in our hiring process right now. We currently have an open application, and your viewers can go on policeapp.com and submit their application. Obviously, we want all qualified applicants and viewers to apply, but yes, as you mentioned, we are in short supply when it comes to our female population and officers in blue. The deadline is April 1st. But until then, we encourage everyone that's 21 years of age, a U.S. citizen, have a valid driver's license and a high school or a GED diploma. Currently, our makeup department in Hartford, when it comes to female officers, out of 384 current sworn police officers, only 48 make up the female population of women in blue. So because of that, we are aware of that, Kevin, and we're out there encouraging the females, women, to apply, and we're doing that by avenues of going through having presentations over at the YWCA. We're going to universities and colleges
Good. I was gonna ask you
that
that.
are predominantly
Yeah.
women-based, such as St. Joseph's College. We've gone there several times.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be just women college. You could go to any college because there's quite a bit of women in college now. Remember, we're a women's lib, and so we want to be able to do everything that we want to
Correct.
do without any.
And we've gone to, obviously here, Capital Community College, we've gone to Manchester Community College, we've gone out of the state to West Springfield and Springfield College. We have a career fair in 2 weeks over at John Jay Community College. But yeah, it's also important to note that in addition to all the colleges, we're not just focusing on criminal justice majors. We obviously, like I said, we want to get the best candidate possible. So, we're looking at the sports departments in all these universities and colleges as well.
Yeah.
Now, how do we compare to the national average? Aren't we a little higher than most when it comes to females in police work?
You know that, Kevin, I'm sorry, I don't have that information
I
with
thought
me.
we were-
That's the one
But
thing
that would
I
be a
didn't
good
look
trend
at
to
the
look at.
average.
That would be a good trend to look at in general. What I would like to see more of, though, is going into the high school. Kids are hitting 18 years old. To try to get them into that cadet program so we can mold them
Yes.
to what we want them to
Absolutely, and that is my vision, Kevin, and what I've proposed, and I've already submitted a proposal to command staff, is to create a pipeline from PAL to the Explorers to the cadet programs to then cadets come into our recruitment to become recruits. So what I've proposed is in partnership with the Board of Education, the superintendent, Leslie Torres. Is Leslie Torres Rodriguez or Rodriguez
Mhm.
hyphen
Yeah,
Torres?
I know what that
She's
is.
hyphenated,
Mhm.
yeah. So we're gonna start, we need to integrate back and engage with the kids at a young level, at
Yes.
obviously elementary.
Mhm.
So, in doing all my research, because as you mentioned, Kevin, I'm not only in charge of recruitment, but I'm also in charge of retention, so I need to
Yeah,
think long-term.
retention is important.
Long-term, so we're gonna start this Fist Bump Fridays. And it's something that started in Boston. Boston PD and several other counties started this, but what they were doing were High Five Fridays. But I was quickly corrected by the superintendent and said, well, that's kind of old. Kids don't high five anymore. They do more of a fist bump. So we've identified two schools. We're gonna pilot the program April 1st.
All right, I hope.
No, but actually, she's identified two schools,
Okay.
Maria Sanchez and Milner. So one in the south end and one in the north end. And we're just gonna have probably our CSOs, our cadets there, and they're just gonna be there in the morning and just give them like, hey, good morning, have a great day, good
That's
job
a great
for coming.
relationship
Okay,
building. Mhm.
so that's the first portion of it. The second portion is gonna be motivational Mondays. So it's gonna be the same concept. We're gonna have officers just in the morning. So in the morning on a Monday, we're gonna have them like, great job, you got this. See you at the
Stay
end of
in
the
school,
week. Stay in
do
school.
good.
And then on Friday, we'll have officers there to give them the fist bump Friday, so that we can have more positive engagement
need
with
that.
with the youth, so that they can then want to become and be a part of the PAL program, right? Which is right now. I think we need to redirect that and make sure that we have more uniformed police officers in there versus civilians. I don't know if you're aware that it's currently manned by civilian employees, that Aetna runs it. So, but this all has to do with recruitment, because we don't have enough police officers to be able to put in full-time positions dedicated to programs such as PAL. But it's important, because that's where we're going to get our homegrown Hartford residents to be interested in becoming uniformed
Well,
personnel.
that's been part of the problem is, traditionally over the years, we don't focus on recruiting until the numbers start getting down so low that it becomes a crisis. What it should be is a constant process. So you have, a list of people ready to come in. Tiffany, I know you mentioned that you were in corporate America until you realized you wanted to, for whatever reason, wanted to become a police officer. How did that happen?
Well, I've always wanted to be a police officer. I eventually wanted to go into the military right after high school. However, it was frowned upon my mother, and you do what your mama say. And so I was the first to go to college, the first to graduate college, and I got quickly into the work field with the dream of always wanting to be a police officer. You get stuck in the black hole of the vacation time and working from home, and then I had a baby, and then I had to keep up with the insurance, and then my dream of always wanting to become a police officer just kept being pushed in the back burner until I was in my 40s, and I realized if I want this to happen, I need to do it before my knees give out. So I decided, let me do this now. 18 years in corporate, if it doesn't work out, you can't take that experience away from me. If it doesn't work out, I can always go back. I'm here now, and I don't plan on going anywhere.
Good, good. What
Now
about
that,
you?
now that you're here, how does that compare to the dream you had when you wanted to get into it?
You know what? It's nothing like you see on TV.
Of course not.
The writing is a little bit more excessive than I anticipated. However, it's just like learning anything new. If you want it and it's your dream, you'll make sure you're good at it so you can continue to be part of it.
Now, how do you feel yourself received in a city like Hartford? Does the community accept female police officers? Is it a little more stressful for you? How do you see that interaction? Or doesn't it matter to most people?
I have to honestly say that when I was in the academy, my sergeant stated, you out of everyone in this class will have it harder than anyone else.
You have to work harder.
I was the only black female officer in my academy, and when it's 50-50 when I go out there, I can be well received by the people that look like me, and it can be the total opposite when I'm working really hard to have my questions answered during my investigation because they just can't relate. Told that I'm a sellout, that regardless of what I'm wearing, I'm still black underneath. And those are hard things to hear when you just want to be there to help.
But isn't that what, as a community, isn't that what we want? People that can relate to the members of the community?
Yes, absolutely, we do, but we have to keep in mind that they have the stigma about what police officers are, regardless of what color they are. So it's really hard to turn those things around when they're already instilled in their head.
But one thing you have to put in your head and remember always, dear, that you'll never satisfy everyone. So you're gonna go through the world and to the earth and to the community thinking, I'm going to do the best at all times. Of course, if everyone think you're wonderful, we have a different world. But it's the reality that we have to live in. You're gonna go out there. You're gonna respect your community, and you hope and expect to get that respect back. You
You're
know.
absolutely right, ma'am.
So I think those are really so critical for you as an officer out there as a female. But you're gonna stand tall and understanding that this is what you love to do, and you're gonna show them that you're passionate about it. It doesn't matter what they may say. You know, people will say a lot of stuff, but it's what you're gonna put in your head and believe. All right. So it's really important for you to stay strong, and stand tall about what you do.
You know, you go to these calls and no two calls are the same, and
Right.
you absolutely have to conform over to the person you're talking with.
Mhm.
You know, you can go in and as nice as possible, and then sometimes you have to be just a little bit extra stern because of how they're perceiving you.
Now, do you find that you've got to work even harder to prove yourself on every call because you're a female officer?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know I go to these calls and they immediately size you up. You know, female. You know, black. You know, how
I think
new
they do
are
that
you?
with any officer, though, right?
Yeah,
You know,
they do. You know, but your treatment can be totally different depending on the kind of treatment that they received in the past. with someone
Right,
else.
right.
And that's-
Kevin, this is what, as I know, that is really, really important. Respect, give it, respect, receive it. And yes, sometimes you have people with mental health issues, so they don't know anything about respect and stuff like that. So you have to figure out, is this person have some mental health issue, you know, or this person is just plain rude, or whatever the case may be. So it's the training that you need to continuously having to address the community that you work in. That's really so important.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, that's one of the things, you know, when we occasionally are invited in to speak to the academy classes, that's one of the things, you know, I usually try to bring up is it's all about respect, because the person, if you treat somebody like garbage today, that could be the same person that's saving your butt tomorrow when you get into a jam. So you got to treat everybody with respect, and, you know, especially in a city like Hartford, forget about the preconceived notions. Everybody's a human being, they all deserve respect. Do you find, to any of you, in this current climate that we're in today, it's not like 20 years ago where we would have 1,000 officers, 1,000 applicants show up to take the police test.
It's very hard.
It's harder now to find people, but is it even harder to talk people into becoming a police officer with whether it's what they read in the paper or see in the media? You know, most people see police as the bad guys.
Yeah, absolutely,
So-
Kevin, and that is correct. I mean, I've only been doing this particular position for about 6 months. But it's the negative perception out there that I'm working against, right? And trying to recruit qualified applicants is nobody really wants to be a police officer anymore. You know, it's okay. Everybody is wants to be a firefighter, but nobody's really banging down any doors to be a police officer. And it does have to do a lot with all the negative media that's out there, whether it's your traditional media sites or out on your social media sites with Instagram and Twitter. And what we're dealing with today, we weren't dealing with just 10, 15, just the other day, 10 years ago. We didn't have all Facebook and social and Twitter. And so we as a law enforcement community, we need to get ahead of the narrative and make sure that whenever something negative is put out there, because this is a profession like any other, right? We're all individuals. Everybody, and whether you're in the medical profession or any other profession, there's always that one person that's disgruntled, that's unhappy, that's just miserable. Well, we have that in law enforcement too, for whatever reason. I mean, we're people too. We're human too. We have lives. We have husbands. We have kids. We have lives outside of work. That I mean, should we make sure that when we come into work that day that we leave all that behind? But some people are not able to.
It's not always possible to do that.
It's not.
Right.
And that, it's the same thing for officers going home. Who knows what that officer saw on their shift? Did they see a baby die because it was abused?
Yeah.
Or the terrible things you see every day. But
So I wanted to know, are you guys being respected in your department by your male counterparts? Because that's really important for your male counterpart to understand that you are one of the officers too that need to be respected, and you're doing just as hard a job as they are.
I mean, in my experience, I haven't experienced anything negative. I think it's all an individual. We're all sizing each other up. Because that's just the nature of the beast when it comes to law enforcement. I don't think it has anything to do with gender. I think it just has to do with can that officer back me up? Are they going to be able to get on a ground fight if need be? I don't think it has anything to do with gender. I just think until you get to know each other as partners, you get to know each other's strengths and weaknesses. So in my experience, I don't think it has anything to do with gender. I think it just has to do with who you're working with. I need to be able to go out on a call with Tiffany and know that she has my back. Whether this was Tiffany Wilson or whether it was just Officer Mike Wilson, I need to know that you have my back. So it's gaining that confidence between whoever, whether it's A squad, B squad, whoever your partner and who you're working with, you need to be able to have confidence. So
right.
In my opinion, I don't think it has anything to do with gender.
Well, wonderful. That's good to hear. So because of course, partnership is really so important, because you guys need to be able to understand each other to make a better world or a better job. I want to hear from this young lady over here and tell me, what did you graduate from Harvard High or Buckley?
No, I graduated from Buckley.
Okay, good. Well,
Well,
my
that's what I
kids
was
graduated from Harvard High.
I was going to ask her, she's probably the closest one of any of us sitting here to the high school years. So what's the perception of police officers and police work in high school? Is it something Hartford kids would think about doing, or is it pretty much...
Well, at the time that I was attending Buckley High School, we needed a certain amount of community service hours in order to graduate and stuff like that. A couple things have changed since then. But I actually joined the Police Explorers when I was 15 years old in order to just gain community service hours. Policing is not something that was on my to-do list, especially at that time. It was kind of like, hey, here's a program. My mom has always, put me out there. I did Girl Scouts, I did this, I took classes in this, so she's always had me involved. So I took the opportunity, I went to the meetings, and I ended up being an explorer for the past 6 years. And then that also got me involved to move on to the cadet program. So my love for law enforcement started there, and it's like how the lieutenant stated, that vision. I'm living proof of that vision. You start off, you get that positive reinforcement from law enforcement. I can say now that at 21 years old, my mentors, the people that inspire me in life, are people in law enforcement, are people in that uniform. When you walk in, it's showing that utmost respect, because I want to be there one day. You know, you start from the beginning, and they're just mentors in all aspects of life. So I also am a college student, so I attend Eastern Connecticut State University, and I also work for the police department now. So.
Wonderful.
And
So
I
you-
just want to point out, because
Go.
she's being very shy here, is that she's on a full scholarship, paid scholarship at her college. And when she was coming up through the ranks, she went from sergeant as an
Well, I
explorer.
started as a lieutenant, and then I worked my way up to the chief's position over the years.
In the
I
explorer
I
program,
was
so.
a
we
retiree
have
chief
ranking
of the
system.
explorer.
So you do have.
Yeah.
The
A
pension's
chief.
not as good as
See.
the real chief.
Yeah. So the explorers is all voluntary work, and it's
So-
all community service.
So you will be that perfect person to get back into our high schools and start talking to the young people.
Absolutely.
Okay, because if you walk into Harvard High or Buckley today, and I think maybe Buckley might be in a little more orderly than Harvard High
Yeah,
at this point.
Definitely.
But I think you would be that perfect person to go in there and let these kids, understand and get a concept of what it is to become.
Absolutely.
Because I'm going to tell you why. Because young people in high school these days have this negativity around officers, and maybe duly so, because either they hear or they might have experience with the negative things, and so therefore you will be that perfect person to get into these high school to talk to. Because as I said, yeah, we can get the from they're in elementary school. But we want to look at this high school piece that nobody's really actually tapping into. And there is young people there that probably wants to do it, but they need that person like you to come in and say, hey, Johnny or Mary, hey, this is a great career
But see,
for
that's
the
part of the
future.
problem though, and I don't know if it was done because of budget cuts or staffing issues. We removed all of our police officers out of our schools.
School resources.
So we
Yes.
have no real
Yes.
mentors
Right.
or role models for people in the schools nowadays.
Right, but you see, that piece, I want to tell you about that, because I remember when Chief Barry, Chief Roberts, I worked with them to, push to get this officer, and that's how it started, to get an officer in our schools. However, over the years, it has became, I'm the teacher, you're the officer. Hey, officer, come over here, get Johnny.
Yes.
Johnny is probably in handcuffs. We did not want that in the school. The officer was supposed to be in that school to talk about, hey, Johnny, you need to go to class, honey. Look, you could become an officer one day,
And-
or you could become something, a lawyer or something.
But you're
That's what
correct.
it
You're
was
correct,
supposed to
because
be.
I was a school resource officer for about 4 years. The first 4 years when I started here at Hartford, and I think what happened was that the staff members kind of used us as a crutch when
Right.
they did not want to deal with
With
the
the issue.
discipline
Mhm.
issues. So yeah, I think that kind of got
Got out of hand.
It got well, not in my school it didn't, but I can see how maybe a younger officer with not that much experience, and you have a teacher telling you, or the
Come on over.
superintendent, not the superintendent,
The
excuse me,
principal
the
or
principal
somebody.
telling you, and then you have to be able to have the nerve and say, well, no, absolutely not. This is more of a school issue. This is
Building
something that
relationships,
needs to be
that's
held
what-
in the school.
Yeah.
But see, that's also part of the problem, the short-sightedness or the vision, because it hasn't been recently, but when Chief Ravella was here, whenever they were looking for budget cuts, one of the first spots they would look at would be the cadet program. And Chief Ravella used to say, that's my minority recruitment program. That's how I get kids from the schools and get Hartford residents, is the cadet program, the Explorer program. And they would cut back on it. And it's also a huge benefit to us as taxpayers, because the money we spend on training for a police officer, and then after a few months on the road, they say, hey, this isn't for me, I'm calling it quits. At least with the cadet program, they experience different aspects and know, yeah, okay, this is a career for me, or no, I just can't, deal with blood, I can't deal with the mayhem, it's not a career for me. So it's a great opportunity, and I don't know what you've seen so far or what you've experienced.
There's a lot of exposure. Within just my 6 months of being a cadet, I've experienced patrol. I've experienced the Special Investigations Unit, which is working with the detectives upstairs. I've experienced crime scene, the crime scene division that we have, and gone out on calls on that. And that's just within my cadet career, let alone being an explorer and learning and going through some of the trainings that they go through.
Do you do CSI things?
We
Well, that's
observe
crime
CSI
center.
things.
But even, occasionally you
But
go
yes.
into the police station and there's cadets at the front window. That's a great opportunity for you to interact with the public, see how nasty some people can be.
Oh, yeah, and
or
there
how
are
pleasant
some there.
others can be. And it's also a good opportunity for supervisors to say, well, she's great calming people down. She knows how to talk her way through things. And it gives them a chance to, like, on-the-job evaluation of the cadets also, to realize who's gonna be good or who may not be cut out for this career.
Exactly,
So-
but looking long-term in the vision that I have, and just so you know, and put you at ease, because I am in the same mindset as well. If we want to recruit Hartford residents from the Hartford, we need to start at a very young age. So in addition to that pipeline and the fist bump Fridays, I also want to bring back a mentorship program, to have the explorers mentor, the cadets mentor the cadets, and then the explorers, the PAL, and have the current recruit class mentor the cadet. But in order to do that, and this is working with the Board of Education, Superintendent Leslie Torres, is to also have high school students come in and tour the facility, maybe do some sort of CSI thing with our major crimes division where they can do some fingerprint lifting to get them, well, hopefully before high school, started out as, I'm a New Yorker, I'm not even from Connecticut, I'm but I know when I went to school, we had tours in any of the closest precinct in Brooklyn, and that's where I started my love for the law enforcement career. I think we need to start having some tours in the police
Yeah,
See,
department.
I
that's
think it'd be
something
a
I've
great
talked
idea
to-
for our school
To
kids.
the chief and the command
Because-
staff about.
Yeah, high
We
school.
need to have, just close down High Street, have a block party. Have all the
Yeah.
equipment, have the bomb truck, have the bat van, the drug van, or the alcohol van, and invite people in. Say,
Especially
we're
the
we're having an
kids.
open house, come in and see what we're all about. It can't be this secrecy that people are
Yeah.
afraid of the police department because they don't know what goes on in that building. We're lucky because we kind of have the luxury of interacting enough that we know what goes on, why they do what they do. But it's something that they need to open up more and let people see what goes on. And I would have like a street fair.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was
Yeah, block
thinking.
party.
Yeah, maybe a Friday evening, you just have that, open it to the schools, have the kids come in, I would gear it towards the kids. The community, I would gear it to the kids. Come on over, let's have a hangout, have some
It's
hot
all part
dogs or
of being
something.
part of the community and
Of
letting people
course.
know that, you're important to us as residents because without the residents, the police department won't work. So those are the type of things that we need to get that mindset changed, and it's not us against them. It's everybody working together in a partnership. Now, I know Chief Rosado he likes to talk about the stats for the upcoming class, which starts at the end of March. And I know one of the figures he's been putting out is 78% minority, which is unheard of. What's the makeup of that class, do you know? I'm sure you've got it in your notes there.
Yeah, I do actually. We currently have 9 males, and out of the 9, the breakdown is 5 of them are Hispanic, 2 are African American, and 2 are Caucasian. So the class is 18 total. The other 9, they're females, and 3 are Hispanic, 4 African American, and 2 are Caucasian, which is great because
that's great.
currently
I
we
like
only
that.
have 4 African American females and 1 is sitting next to me. So that's a concern of ours, not only just the minority population, but ensuring that we recruit more African American females. So that is it. We have a total, and they're slotted to hopefully start the 25th.
Okay, and we would like to come in and talk to them, just to give them some, high
Well,
spirit
that's a
up.
different lieutenant.
Or this is
Yeah,
different
but I
lieutenant?
can pass that along to Lieutenant Rob Shelby.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
the
it's
Academy
everything.
Commander.
Yeah, they need to hear from the people who are hearing things out there all the time.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really important because we are out there, and so we hear a lot of negative things. And if we can set records straight and stuff like that, to let them understand what's going on, that's really great.
And just so you know, 5 of them are Hartford residents.
Wonderful.
Yeah, 4 of the women are Hartford residents,
Great.
and 1 male.
Oh, that's great.
So
Wonderful.
I think that's almost
Well,
double from our last.
It's going in the right direction, and that's what, we hear a lot when we've talked to people out in the community. we want our police department to look like us, not necessarily me.
Reflect
But
the
reflect
community.
the makeup of the community.
Mhm.
And it sounds like we're moving toward that.
And we are, because what we're doing for Hartford residents, if you are a Hartford resident and you are interested in applying, you get, I believe, up to an extra 10 points just for being a Hartford resident. That's just for applying. And then the other thing that we do is that we offer practice written exams. This is geared toward the Hartford residents, but it's open to everybody because we don't want to exclude anybody. But we understand that we lose most of our Hartford residents when it comes to, well, I think the first thing is we lose them at the agility. So what we do is that every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we give agility testing. So, but it's open to everybody, but it's predominantly our Hartford residents that show up. And we have it over at the Buckley track, and it starts at 6:30 p.m. And we go through the run, the sit-ups, the push-ups, in addition to other things to make sure that they can pass the agility exam and that they can continue once they're in the
Well, I
academy.
know that was one of the problems. Chief Ravella used to talk to me all the time about that, is roughly 30% of the people when they would apply
Just physical.
washed right out right in the beginning with, and I was like, you're talking, what, 21-year-old men and women?
Exactly.
And they can't pass it. Now, I know I couldn't do it right
Physical
now,
is
but,
really so important.
but
you
it's
know?
just, whether you do a boot camp type thing or whatever and get people in shape so they can make it through the
So
test.
what we do is to advertise this is as social media. We have an Instagram account, and I do a pretty good job at making sure that I keep everyone abreast of everything that we do have to offer. That we are giving you these free practice exams, and we are helping you with your physical agility to make sure that we set you up for success. In addition to that, we also help you once you submit your application and you're accepted and you pass the written exam. The next step of the process is the oral board. So we also, the week prior, invite everyone, not just Hartford residents, but we invite everyone the week prior, and we give you mock oral boards so that to help you succeed as well. And I think this is why we've got so many
It sounds like
Hartford
you're doing a lot
residents.
just to get people prepped for, because if you've never been through an oral board, it's an experience.
It certainly
And,
is.
some of it, and I know you're part of a program where you do like a blind assessment of people
Yeah,
that wash out of the
subjective
program to
board.
All
say,
you're part of the subjective review board.
which is a good idea because
It is.
you can't say it,
You
they
can't
knew
say
I
you're
was-
discriminating,
Yeah.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for what we've gotten, application that we've gotten, I mean, I'm not in there, so I'm not sure how many, but for what we've gotten, it's pretty good to see what's there and understanding that nobody can say around the table that we're discriminating because you're this and you're that. They're he or she, whatever the case may be.
Another thing that I like to point out where we lose a lot of residents mainly, but everyone is their credit. We're losing a lot of people, and I think that goes to that's one of the things that goes to the subjective review board. So one of the things that I make sure that I post on Instagram and when we hold our information sessions is that I express not that you can't have bad credit because everyone has credit. Everybody has a rolling balance. It's whether I emphasize the fact is whether or not you're making an attempt to at least make a minimum
Right.
payment. And then I break it down and explain why. As a police officer, at some point you're gonna have to deal with cash. And so
Yeah.
we can't have you coming in. But I mean, it is a concern because we have situations where it's the applicant. It's a perfect applicant. Whatever it could be a minority, it could be a female, right here from Hartford. But they just went through a divorce, a single parent. So now they have to
Well,
decide: do I buy
yeah.
food for my kids or do I miss a payment?
Right, but if you like a student and you have student loan and things like that, and as my daughter always say, we are all in debt somewhere along the
That's
line.
real life.
But
Right.
you can't penalize people because I went to college, I have some loan there. The way we can look at it, okay, so you went to college, you have all these loans. Let's see, you have a job. Are you trying to pay? Even if you're trying to pay, that's I can see you through that. But if you have a job and you don't pay,
Right.
then that's an issue right
But
there.
I think for a long time, and hopefully it's changed now, but it was very subjective. I would get phone calls from people saying, I applied to Hartford and they turned me down, but I'm starting the FBI Academy next week, or the DEA hired me, or I'm going to Glastonbury, I'm going to Avon,
Or the
whatever.
state or
I
whatever.
it's
think,
like-
I think maybe those are those cases we need to
Well, that's,
relook and
you
because I think ultimately it's up to the chief. The chief.
I
has
think
the
it's
final-
gotten better. It's not like it used to be, but it used to be, you look at your background investigator the wrong way and they can you're out the
Hopefully
door.
that's not the
So,
case.
Right, and it-
Anymore, if that was the case.
Yeah, it's like the fire department.
With the
Anybody
numbers you
can
got, I
apply.
think that's changed, if it's coming down that way.
Yeah.
But in our department, we've got females in just about every rank, up to and including a deputy chief.
We do.
So what do you see as the opportunities for women in the police
I
department?
think this is a great, Hartford Police right now, I mean, we have opportunity for everybody, not just women, but we're considered a young department, meaning, most of all our 20-year guys have left, and the reason why we need so many police officers have left or are eligible to leave like today. So and most of them are high-ranking officials, either sergeants or lieutenants or captains or above, and so we need to fill from the bottom up. So if you come on to the police department in Hartford, I mean, we have sergeants that have 3 years on the job. That's what I mean by being a young department. It's the opportunity for advancement is within our department, and not to mention that our background process is it's only taken us about 6 months. From start to finish, from the moment that you apply and submit your application and you go through the whole background and selection process. I mean, that this class is expected to start the academy early fall, I believe. So it's a quick turnaround. Most other departments, they're taking at least a year and a half, but they can be selective. I'm not saying that that's not a good thing. We're just as selective. We want the most qualified candidate.
Right.
But our process is much faster because we are, and we still need at least 100 police officers.
That's something, a lot of people don't realize, how we get into the hole where we don't have enough cops, or we get down, so, overtime's a huge issue. But it roughly takes almost 2 years to hire a cop. It's not like you put an ad in the paper tomorrow and you're hiring police officers tomorrow,
That's
the next
correct.
day.
I mean, Kevin, I just want to tell you the class that's going in now, the 18, we started out with 300 applicants. 300. Out of those 300 applicants, we're left with 18 qualified individuals. I mean, it's a process. It's a very involved process because we have to make sure that you are the right candidate. That you didn't. It includes a psychological. It includes 2 polygraphs exams. It includes a urine examination, a drug test. It includes your credit history, your motor vehicle history, your driving history. I mean, we look at everything, not just the Hartford Police Department, but any law enforcement agency that you choose to go with is going to do the same thing.
And even the background investigation isn't something that's done in a couple hours. They go out, they talk to your neighbors, previous employers. They
Yes.
go through the whole bit.
But I still would like to know, is there a quicker way for this process anyway? Because you look at, other towns and see how they get people in and out. Is it because we're so slow in our process?
No, I
Why?
don't think so. I beg to differ on that. We currently are the quickest process. Anywhere else, you're gonna wait at least a year. And we have, and you have to remember is most of these other departments probably only have maybe two positions.
2 or 3 positions compared to our
Two entry-level positions. Our background people had to start with 300 applicants. I mean, by the time they weed it out, because some people don't even make it to the background process, and I'll tell you why. They fail to submit all the proper documentation when they submit the application. For instance, if you're a non-Hartford resident, you have to submit proof of your chip card, the chip test, the agility test, and that's a private company. So there are some applicants that fail to either submit that along with their application, or they provide proof of that they're 21, or some apply and they're not quite 21. So some people get weeded out right from the beginning. So once they get to the background process for this current 18 that's going in, I think the original number was only 198. And out of that 198, I believe only 48 were from Hartford.
Well, and part of the process, and not to point a finger here, but part of the process slows down at City Hall. Because
HR.
the police department, up until a few years ago, had its own HR department, Bill Vernile and others, and they would do all this in-house. And then eventually it all went to City Hall. So sometimes it takes them months to get a certified list back to the chief to say, here's people that
Is there
pass
a
the
way
test.
for us to work and I know
Well-
we don't all want, because they're trying to consolidate a lot of things, but it's hurting us. This HR is hurting us
The
in the
major
city.
problem is, 20, 25, 30 years ago, we were hiring police officers in record numbers. We have an academy class of the 60 or 65 officers. And somebody at City Hall should have been saying, well, they got a 20-year retirement, so let's plan this out 20 years. When do we start having all these people retire? Which is what we've just gone through. Now I think we're level for about the next 5 years with retirements. So we won't see us going into that big hole, but they should be planning regularly
Right.
to keep the numbers up where they need to be.
But how are you guys in the department addressing the retention? Because we're losing talent. People who knows things and understand.
Well, that was
How are
something
we
we talked
addressing?
about before you came in. We were here talking about what we can do to retain officers, whether it's giving them incentives for housing to keep them here as residents, give them a tax break if they, rehab an abandoned property or something. And I know Hartford's never done it, but like East Hartford has what they call a drop plan.
I've researched that, yeah, no, we don't
which-
have it.
Yeah, which would be a good idea. So you actually, if you have somebody that has their time in for retirement,
If they want to stay on,
they want to
still.
stay without losing money. And that's, when you come down to it, how good of a cop
It's a
you are, how
box,
much
it's
you
a
love the
box.
job, it still comes down to an issue of money and
Mhm.
providing for your
And,
family.
and of course, we're also competing with surrounding towns.
I know.
We're the lowest, we're
Paid.
the lowest paid, so just to get people, my thing is to get them in by, making them aware, okay, yeah, we may not be the highest paid, but if you're looking to, be in the bomb squad or the dive team, or we have a lot more to offer than all these smaller departments, and the fact that your mobility, your opportunity for mobility is here. Yeah, we may not be the highest paid, but we have a lot more to offer.
But
But
you
I
also
think-
have the opportunity to make big
Right.
money if you
I was
want to.
gonna say that.
Exactly, with all the road jobs
Yeah.
and the PJs
Yeah.
and
Because I don't think anybody left the job saying, "Oh my God, look at my pay."
We won't name
Um,
names, but when you got police officers that are retiring making $200,000 a year,
Right.
that's not bad.
That's not bad.
So the opportunity is here. You don't start out making a lot, but the
Right.
opportunity
But
to
the
make a lot.
opportunity is
Well,
there.
and the other thing we talked about before we went on the air is most Hartford police officers see more in their first year on the job than a lot of suburban cops see in an entire career, whether it's shootings, the violence, the drug issues, all the specialized units, like you mentioned, the bomb squad and things like that. That's not an opportunity you get in a lot of little police departments.
Not
So
that
if
we
you
want
wanna-
him to have it, but it happens.
No, but
you
if you
know?
want to be a well-rounded police officer, you're going to see more in Hartford than you'll see anywhere else.
Exactly, but I think that's some of the problem that we're seeing with these last few recruits, these last few classes, is that they come here, they get their
And they
training,
leave.
and then they leave. So we really do need to think about retention and things such as that. Maybe affordable housing, or maybe some incentive geared towards Hartford residents, like maybe a sign-on bonus. I know we don't have money, but we have to start thinking outside of the box, because we're training excellent officers.
Excellent training.
And
Mhm.
then they leave to a better
You know,
paying
even just, you
department.
look at the number of Hartford officers that retire and get hired in other towns.
Of course.
What
As
chief
a
in their right
chief.
mind wouldn't want to take, no, even as patrolmen. My mother lives in Windsor Locks. Half the cops up there are retired Hartford cops.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, there's definitely a benefit to the experience a Hartford officer has.
Yeah, we got to find ways and means to try to retain these guys or girls, because it's really important for us to, keep them here. We're losing experience.
We are, so, yeah, I think it'll happen. Some of the other things that we're doing is although the numbers are low, we are increasing our female, population, the female, officers. So, we're gonna implement, this is something that I'm putting forth and gonna propose to, our command staff, is we're gonna need, they're all childbearing ages, so we're gonna have to, accommodate them with like some
Yeah.
sort of a lactation room, and we need to start thinking of things like that. So, those are things that I use to when I'm recruiting. This is the vision, this is where the department's going.
Well, those are ideas that when you talk about thinking outside the box, really need to be done if you're gonna
Yeah.
be, if you wanna say we're serious about recruiting women, you've gotta take those things into consideration.
No, and I think we are. Command staff and current leadership is that they've been doing great. Whatever I bring to the table and propose, they're more than willing to understand that this is the direction that the department is already in. Not only that, just modern day policing. So it's just a matter of making sure, getting everybody on board, everybody in the same room to say, yeah, you know what, you're good, you can go ahead with that.
Well, another issue that, phone calls I've been getting over the past couple weeks, without going into a specific incident, people are concerned about the LGBTQ community and how that's represented on HPD. And I said, it's almost impossible to say because you can't legally ask that. There's nowhere on the application, are you?
Correct.
And a lot of people aren't comfortable identifying themselves as that.
That is correct.
It's come a long ways, but I was telling somebody the other day, I said, 15 or 20 years ago, I remember if you were applying to be a police officer and they thought you were gay, you weren't even considered.
But we are mindful of that. And because of that, our LGBTQ coordinator, Kelly Officer Baerga, she was going out and doing recruitment information sessions because she was the liaison. But when we do go to colleges, we make sure that we talk to include the LGBTQ community, all the college organizations, the sorority. So we're reaching out to everyone. We just want the best possible qualified candidate. But it's just tough trying to recruit for law enforcement altogether. Not just us, not just Hartford Police Department. Every law enforcement agency across the country is having issues. I mean, I'm going to toot my own horn here, but right here in Connecticut, I have departments reaching out to me because I'm doing such a great job. That I heard you on the radio, I heard you on the Spanish radio.
Right.
We don't have a division. What else can you tell me? What else are you doing? What can you help me with? So I think we're doing a good job in Hartford.
Right.
I think it's just a matter of getting the word out because a lot of folks don't even know. Before we got onto social media, they weren't even aware the old way of just HR posting the application and going in person. We can't, the team, there's just 2 of us, 3 of us now, 4, when my officer gets back. But it's tough. We can't be physically at a site. It's just impossible. So I work a lot with emails with a lot of the colleges, making sure I'm disseminating the flyer, the application, everything that they need to know. Another way that we're hoping to get college students and just the younger generation is also offering them, letting them know, hey, you can come do a ride-along. Come do a ride-along just to get your feet wet and get your that desire to want to be.
That'll be an eye-opener for them.
A police officer, yeah. And then the other thing is, I go to all the CHIP sites. We go to all the CHIP sites. That's where we get the majority of our applicants. A lot of them come from the state of New York and Massachusetts, and we do really well.
Well, that's, every time I hear that Hartford's having trouble hiring, I'm like, how does NYPD put together classes of 600? When we can't even find 15 or 20.
But look, New York is a huge place.
And I know,
but
they pay a lot less than Hartford too.
Right, but they're a huge place, and they can get people from all over.
I'm going to tell you how is because I've spoken to that lieutenant who just retired. Well, he didn't retire; he just became a captain. And they're a civil service exam. So, but what they do is they have a huge budget, and they do everything on social media. Everything on social media, and if you Google something, their advertisement will immediately pop up.
Well, and that's, I don't want to be critical, but if you look at their webpage, NYPD, just for recruiting, it's huge.
It is.
So they
they
have
put
money.
down your vacation time.
Yeah.
They have money.
I don't think it's just
and
money, it's
that's-
just somebody's got to do it.
No, but they have a huge budget, and I think that's key, Kevin, what you mentioned, because our recruitment site is with the city site. It is so
It's
not user
The
friendly.
whole
See, I've had
city.
people say,
I think you guys should have your own site. Okay,
They
maybe
could
that's
do
something
that.
we
They
need to
could do
talk
it
about.
as a separate page, but I've had people
Just
call me and say,
Had anybody that can
I went
fix
to the
that.
HPD website for recruiting and I put my information in there, and all they do is send me a card or something.
It's not us, it's run by the city,
Well,
it's
this is what I'm
HR,
saying.
That's
it's
where
an
the problem
interest
is.
Do a
card.
better
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, if the city runs the site,
Right.
we don't have ownership, we can't modify it, we can't edit it, we can't.
Why, I don't know.
So maybe we need to have
That's
the
a bigger
chief
conversation, yeah.
talk to the mayor to look at it, and it's generally like that with everything. Even with our senior center stuff, you go there, you can't figure anything out. So I think we need to do a better job of marketing ourselves.
And I think that would be a good idea to have just a recruitment site.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of things are going in the right direction. You know, the numbers
agree.
I'm hearing are positive. To see people sitting here that are positive role models for the community is important. You know, I think you need to keep going in the same direction. Let the chief know we support what you're doing.
Yes, we're here
Can
to
you let
support
them
you.
know?
I'm sure
Okay.
Thank you.
you'll probably be watching us.
We
so-
are the eyes and
Thank
the
you.
ears. We are some of the eyes and the ears of the department, okay? And we know you all have a hard job.